All right, y'all, let's get straight into it. We're going to get into this interview by Tucker Carlson. He's interviewing the president of El Salvador. And let me just tell you right now, this interview exceeded my expectations. And it really makes you question the true intentions of the United States. Because when you look at the U.S. compared to El Salvador, we have all the resources. We have every reason to make things right here in this country. But for whatever reason, and I believe it's spiritual reasons, the U.S. just refuses to do so. And this is a very interesting interview. I promise you it's going to change your perspective about what it truly means to seek God's wisdom, specifically as a leader of a country, which is something that we are far lacking right now. But before we get into that, I'm doing this thing now on Patreon where essentially I'm showing you a little bit of a glimpse of my research process of how I kind of research different topics for these videos and these podcasts, and some of the scriptures that kind of come to my mind as I'm watching these, and how I study the Bible through to kind of figure out how to approach these and how to bring it to y'all. So it's really cool stuff. It's really, behind the scenes stuff. It's pretty raw, and it's stuff that I wouldn't be able to put on YouTube because some of it might just, get taken down because it's the rawness of it. So I kind of have to filter myself a little bit on YouTube in order to kind of make it, friendly, quote unquote, for the platform. But on Patreon, I can kind of show you the raw process of how these videos actually come together. Now, I want to thank all the members who are currently on Patreon right now. Currently, we have 648 paid members, but if you go to the About section, we have a total of 1,000 members. So you can sign up as a free membership as well. There's just less content that's going to be put out on the free membership side because I have to make sure that the paid memberships are getting, what they're paying for essentially. And you can see, what we're generating right now on a monthly basis. So just a little over $1,000 on a monthly basis. I have a goal, and I know this is a very ambitious goal, but, the world and all these secular creators who create content about literally nothing, who have no substance behind it, who have no direction and have no desire other than to fill their own pockets, they have 10,000, 20,000, 40,000, 50,000 members. I could show you somebody on Patreon right now who literally has like 17,000 members making crazy amounts of money per month, and they're just all going directly into their pockets. This is a different mission. This is a different goal. All right. So I'm going to leave this open, and I'm going to be transparent, and I'm going to show you guys exactly what we're making here on Patreon. Right now, it's a little over $1,000. I'm going to leave this open. So no matter how high this number gets, and I pray that we're able to get more and more support and get this number closer to $10,000, $20,000, $30,000 per month, because just know, like I said, the goal here is not to enrich myself, but the goal is to glorify God. And we can do that through the resources that are offered here on this earth. And we can use those resources in order to save souls, to make better content, and ultimately to, give it back to y'all in some capacity. Also, I have a lot of cool ideas. I have a game show idea that I'm working on right now. So we're trying to acquire funding for the game show that I'm working on right now, but it's going to happen exclusively on Patreon. So if you're in Patreon, you'll automatically be included into the game show if you want to participate. If not, then, it is what it is. But I think it's going to be really fun. So anyway, like I said, go over to Patreon and support what we're doing on Patreon. I was doing so this sold out. So we have the Faithful Sustainer, the $1 per month. So this one sold out. I think I put this one at I think I only put it to 100 members. There's 500 and something members in here. But this one is the one that's open right now. So it's $3.99 per month. There's no free trial. There's 419 spaces left. I'm going to cap this at 500 spaces right now just to keep things small and intimate. But I'll definitely, reopen this at some point. I just don't know when. All right. And then I have the video that's uploading currently. So there's a video that's uploading right now. It's about 12% uploaded. If you see right here, So this is the video that's going to go on Patreon right now in reference to the Tucker Carlson video. So this is like a little bit of my research for the Tucker video that I'm posting right now. So go to Patreon if you want to support, help us hit 10,000 members. Link is down below. Let's get into this video.
So just bottom line it for us. What's the formula?
Well, I can tell you the official formula and the real formula.
So Tucker was asking, what is the formula to save El Salvador? And this is the president's response.
Okay.
So the official formula is that we did a plan. I mean, we did a plan. It's not that, when I say official, I mean it's a lie. It's just, the official one. We did a plan that was comprised of phases. So we roll up the first phase, then the next one, then the next one, and then gangs started attacking back. So we had to roll up everything at once, like in a hurry. So and it worked. It worked. In a couple of weeks, the country was transformed because the gangs were not yet arrested, but they were on the run. So we had.
And also, if you don't know anything about El Salvador, previous to this regime, El Salvador was essentially ran by the gangs. The gangs were so violent that they would literally kill any and everybody, to the point where the gang members would kill their own family members just to create more fear and anxiety within the people of El Salvador, just to further perpetuate the idea that nobody was off limits. So the gangs would run El Salvador, and they had no plans of going anywhere, really. So when this president came into power, one of the main issues was, how do we get the gangs out, for lack of better words? How do we control this situation and regain power of El Salvador? And this is kind of the thought process that helped them become successful. Just to give y'all some context, I'll stop talking now.
We basically, in the roll-up of phase 6, we basically pacified the country in a couple of weeks.
How do you do that? How do you pacify a country?
Well, the phases included building up of the police forces, the army. We doubled the army. We literally doubled the army to fight crime, to use the army to fight crime. And we equipped them. Before, like soldiers, we didn't have useful guns or vehicles, drones, basic things that an operation of that magnitude would need. So yeah, we roll up the phases and then we went after them.
Okay, so that's the official. That's the official.
Yes, that's the official.
What's the real?
It's a miracle.
It's a miracle.
Yeah, it's a miracle.
I love that. What do you mean?
Yeah, it's a miracle. When gangs started attacking us back, basically they killed 87 people in 3 days, which for a country of 6 million people, it's crazy. Would be the equivalent 60 times. Would be the equivalent of having 5,000 deaths in 3 days. 5,000 murders.
Wow.
In the U.S. in 3 days.
Wow.
Wow.
Yeah. So we were in a meeting, and well, when it started, not when it ended, but when it started, we were in a meeting at my office, 3 a.m., 4 a.m., just watching, what was happening and trying to figure out what to do, because the problem with the gangs is that they don't only attack their objectives. When they want to create terror, they can attack anyone. So they can actually kill their grandma.
Yes.
And it's your victim.
Yes.
Because they don't care about their grandma. You care about their grandma, so it's your victim. If they kill their grandma, you have one death, and they have, they achieved the terror that they want to create. So they can kill anybody. A woman walking by, a guy working in the street, a taxi driver. They can kill anybody. And if the state goes after them, the state has no intention of killing or harming anybody, but the gang members. So you have 70,000 objectives, which were the 70,000 gang members, but they have 6 million possible targets. So it was almost an impossible task.
It's a guerrilla war, really.
Yes, it is, but it was an impossible task because you have to go after them. They were intertwined with the population, they were everywhere, and they were killing randomly. So how do you stop that? So we really tried to figure out what to do, and I basically said, well, we're looking into an impossible mission here. So we pray, and we.
You prayed in the meeting?
Yes, of course, several times. Yeah.
What did you pray for?
To wisdom, to win the war, to have. I thought at the time that we would have civilian casualties, so we said we prayed that the civilian casualties would be as low as possible, and we didn't have any civilian casualties.
And was everyone in the meeting comfortable with that?
Yes. All my security cabinet are believers. They all believe in God. We're a secular country, of course, but we all believe in God. So yeah.
MS-13 is one of the major gangs,
and they are satanic also.
That was my question. So
yes.
very
I'm
little.
sorry.
No. But I would hope you will explain it because very little has been written in the West about this.
They're satanic, yes.
But actually, literally, can you explain?
Well, they didn't start as a satanic organization. They MS-13 started in Los Angeles, in the U.S., because Salvadorians weren't allowed to sell drugs by the Mexican gangs. So they created a gang that was called the 18th Street Gang, because they basically wanted to sell drugs in a street that was 18th Street over there. But then division started they started dividing themselves and started infighting. So they created the MS-13. And then MS-13 started outgrowing the other gangs, and they started exporting the organization to other parts of the U.S. And when Bill Clinton decided to deport those guys, he didn't tell our government at the time, I'm deporting this criminal. They just sent them here. And they came, there were few, but unchecked. At the same time, some laws were passed to protect minors from imprisonment. And of course, the gangs used that to recruit 15-year-olds, 16-year-olds, 17-year-olds. So at the beginning it was, some youth causing harm, assaulting, trying to control their territory, selling drugs, things that are bad, but probably not critical. But they grew, and they started controlling territories. A few years later, they were actually a huge international criminal organization that they have bases in Italy, Guatemala, Honduras, El Salvador, the U.S. Basically, a lot of major cities in the U.S. will have strongholds of.
Right outside Washington, D.C.
Yes, of course. And you have in Long Island and
yes.
In L.A. It's a huge criminal international organization. So they grew and they started, killing more people just to get territory or to fight against rival gangs or to, collect debts or, money or whatever. But as the organization grew, they became satanic. They started doing satanic rituals. I don't know exactly when that started, but it was well documented.
Yes. And
in our arrest, we've even found altars and things like that.
Yes, I've seen them.
And so they became a satanic organization. And even when you, sometimes when you interview gang members that are in prison, they would say, I'm out of the gang. Of course, they're in prison, but they would say, I'm not a member of the gang anymore. And when they asked them why, I remember one I remember the news outlet that made it this, but it's a very well-known news outlet that made this interview with a gang member in person. We allowed them to go into prisons and do the interviews. And the guy that they asked him, how many people have you killed? And he said, I don't remember. He didn't remember how many, probably 10, 20, he didn't remember. And then they asked him, and what is your position in the gang? He explained how he went up in positions, but I left the gang. I said, why did you left the gang? And he said, well, because I was used to kill people, but I killed for territory. I killed to collect money. I killed for extortion. But I came to to this house, and they were about to kill a baby. And the killer that had killed tens of people, said, "Oh, wait, what are we doing? Why are we going to kill that baby?" And they told him, because the beast asked for a baby, so we have to give him a baby. So he said that he couldn't resist that, so he left the gang. He's in prison because he's a killer, but he left the gang because he couldn't tolerate what he was seeing.
So human sacrifice was a part.
Well, in the United States a couple of weeks ago, or a couple of days ago, I don't remember exactly, I saw the news that they were going to kill a young girl, or they killed a young girl, and don't exactly remember, because it was a satanic ritual. It happened in the U.S. a couple of weeks ago.
You may have come to the obvious conclusion that
I don't know, did y'all, so that story that he's talking about, and we're going to continue because it gets even better than that. I believe this is the story that they were talking about. 2 MS-13 gang members who killed Houston girl as sacrifice get 40 years. So it said there was 2 MS-13 gang members killed a 15-year-old girl in Houston, were sentenced to 40 years in prison after pleading guilty to murder. It said that one of them, Hernandez Rivera, who went by the name Scary, pleaded guilty to aggravated assault with a deadly weapon in exchange for 12 years in prison. Those sentences will run concurrently. And then his partner, Miguel Alvarez Flores, who went by Diabolico, pleaded guilty to murder and was sentenced to 40 years. It said this case was investigated by the Houston Police Department, the FBI, Texas Department of Public Safety, Texas Department of Criminal Justice Office of Inspector General and Digital Forensic Unit of Harris County. It was prosecuted by the Gangs Division. I don't think it really gives any more insight as to exactly what happened. Oh, this was a part right here. It said, according to the district attorney's office, not the whole page. Why did it highlight the whole page? Prosecutors expected to show in court that the girl was chosen as a sacrifice and shot to death, likely because she disrespected their shrine to Santa Marta. That's probably not how you say it, but this is a saint of death. And this is something that y'all gonna have to help me in the comments. This is something that is relevant within some sectors of the Catholic faith. I know not every Catholic claim Santa Marta as a saint, but there are some Catholics who claim this saint, and they pray to this saint, and they believe that this saint actually gives them faster miracles and is essentially at the door to death. And it's like, what do y'all really believe in? Because that sounds ridiculous. And if you look up this saint, you'll see that it's literally the image of a skull and bones. And I'll show you that in a second, but I want to get back to this interview because it gets even better. Let me skip this advertisement here.
.com/podcast. You will not regret it.
So that's almost never described in English language press as clearly as you just described it.
No. Which is weird, right?
Well, you sort of wonder why.
Yeah.
If there's a spiritual component that's driving it, why not just say so?
Yes.
But I guess my point is you saw it as that.
Yes, of course. There's a spiritual war and there's a physical war. And the physical war could be, that's the unofficial.
Yes.
That's the unofficial version. The spiritual, if you win the spiritual war, it will reflect into the physical war. So I don't know how to call it, our impressive victory was because we won the spiritual war very, very fast.
Well, that leads me, I didn't expect...
Because you didn't have competition. I mean, they were Satanic. I think that made it easier.
In your inaugural, and I was listening on headphones for the translations, I just want to check this. You said, we have achieved this great victory and made this a safe country, and that's the predicate for everything that follows. And the next thing we're going to do in this term is to work on the economy to make it better.
Grow the economy, yeah.
And you said, correct me if I'm wrong, you said I have a 3-point plan, and I'm thinking, I wonder what that is. I don't know, start a Federal Reserve Bank? And you said the first point of my plan is seek God's wisdom.
Yes.
That is what you said.
Yeah, I said that, yeah.
Why would that be the first point of an economic plan?
Why wouldn't it be? What should be the...
Why wouldn't it be? And this is what he said in the opening. He said, Tucker asked the question, how did you transform El Salvador from literally being one of the most, if not the most dangerous country to one of the most safest? How did you do that? He said, it's literally a miracle. There's only one that does miracle. That's God. And that's why when he says the first point of action is to pray and seek God's wisdom, that should be the first point of action for every leader in high positions, because ultimately God allows you to be in that position in the first place. He allowed that to happen. So how come we're not seeking God's wisdom first? How come we're not praying first? How come we're acting out of our own flesh and making these decisions based on our own understanding? It begs the question, especially from an American standpoint, and I guess the same could be said for a lot of countries. It begs the question, what side are they, the higher ups within the government, the people who are really pulling the strings behind the scenes, what side are they truly on? Because it doesn't seem like they're on God's side. Because how come we're not seeking him? You know what I'm like? It's very, very clear. It's a spiritual war, but they're going to deceive you into thinking that it's just sheerly physical. But let me continue. Let me rewind this a little bit because I really love what he said there.
In your inaugural, and I was listening on headphones for the translations, I just want to check this. You said, we have achieved this great victory and made this a safe country, and that's the predicate for everything that follows. And the next thing we're going to do in this term is to work on the economy to make it better.
Grow the economy, yeah.
And you said, correct me if I'm wrong, you said I have a 3-point plan, and I'm thinking, I wonder what that is. I don't know, start a Federal Reserve Bank? And you said the first point of my plan is seek God's wisdom.
Yes.
That is what you said.
Yeah, I said that, yeah.
Why would that be the first point of an economic plan?
Why wouldn't it be? What should be the first part of the plan?
Well, I think it should be.
Yeah.
But I can't...
And most people would think that, right?
I've never heard any leader of any country say that.
Because they probably forgot to represent the people that elect them. That elects them, yeah. It's like you ask most of the people that elect the politicians, they say, yeah, that's fine, yeah, I believe that. But then you ask the politician, and he will say, no, that's not. So who is he trying to pandering to? I mean, it doesn't make sense, right?
Do you think...
So it's a common sense thing to seek God's wisdom.
Of course.
Yeah.
It's a prerequisite for wise decision making,
yes,
I would say.
Exactly. So that's the first part of our plan.
I don't know why it makes me laugh. Do you think that that's one of the reasons that your successes, which are just measurable, I'm not saying this for ideological reasons, but just a fact that you've transformed the country in a good way and that you're literally the most popular elected leader in the world, again, not speculation, provable fact, you'd think that would be greeted in the hemisphere as this amazing thing, like what's going on in El Salvador, and instead, there's been this, what's going on in El Salvador?
Yeah.
There's been hostility.
Yes.
Do you think that's why?
I'm not sure, but one of the reasons is that we don't pander to them. So probably they don't like that. It's probably a reason. It's like there's. I'm not going to go into conspiracy theory. I'm going to go into provable facts, right? Like you said. So there's worldwide agendas, right? These are provable facts, right? They have benchmarks that they need the countries to follow and they need the countries to do. This is, out there, right? But sometimes if you work on those things, you're probably neglecting the important things for your people, the things that your people are really asking for. I'll give you an example. When we arrested the gang members that were killing so much people that we were the murder capital of the world, literally the most dangerous place in the whole world, more dangerous than Haiti, right? More dangerous than Iraq. This was literally the most dangerous country in the world. We have triple the amount of the murder rate that Haiti has right now. With all the mayhem that they have, we have triple that here. So what do you have to do? You have to stop that, right? I mean, it's a no-brainer. I mean, you don't even need to have a big thought process. You have to stop that. That's the first thing you have to do. When we did that, we got huge condemnations. You name it. Say an organization, we got a condemnation from them. So, and a lot of them were human rights organizations. And you would ask, but what about the human right of a woman not to be raped? I mean, what about the human right of kids to play or to be free or to go to the park? And what about the human right to live, or the human right to walk in the street, right? But no, they were worried about the human rights of the killers, which they have human rights. I don't say they don't. They're humans. But if you have to prioritize, what will you prioritize?
Yes.
Right? The human rights of the honest, hardworking, decent people, not the human rights that they do have. But you won't prioritize the human rights of the killers and rapists and murderers. And so we secured the country, and we did it with no help from any other country, and with huge condemnation in everything that we were doing. Everything. I mean, we changed the Attorney General. We got so much condemnation because we changed the Attorney General that we need to change to prosecute the murderers. So we basically they tried to block every step of what we were doing, and now it's that the results are there. That it's they're tangible, measurable, undeniable. Now they don't know what to do, because a lot of other countries are saying, maybe a lot of other countries similar to ours that have similar problems, they are saying maybe we should do that too. But they don't want that because that's not in their agenda.
But I guess that's why I came here, to be totally honest, is what your success says about the country that I live in or other countries in the hemisphere or in Europe where people are killed by the thousands every year. And what you've proven with very little money and no help from anyone else is it's not that hard to fix. Therefore, all that killing must be a voluntary decision that my government and many other governments are making about their own citizens.
You can make that logical.
Well, I don't know what other conclusion to reach. If El Salvador can do it, what's going on here?
Yes, you can make that logical conclusion. I think that's probably what they are afraid of. Because, I mean, we don't have weapons of mass destruction, right?
No.
So why are they afraid? Why would they take so much time in make condemnations to El Salvador, right? It doesn't make any sense.
Well, you didn't send a man to the moon.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I think they're afraid of the example. Because a lot of people might say, hey, we want that too. If they can do it with no money, with very few resources, and with a huge problem, because I heard some people say, oh, El Salvador could do it because the problem was not that big. I'm like, we're literally the murder capital of the world. How bigger can it get, right? We were literally the most dangerous place in the world, 3 times more dangerous than Haiti right now. So, wow. I mean, how bigger can the problem get? And at the same time, we had very few resources, and we were able to do it with no civilian casualties. After we started the war on gangs, we had no civilian casualties, and we lost 8 between police officers and soldiers, and we basically eradicated all crime.
So
and we arrested 70,000 gang members, which the number is not a number that just came up. That's the official number that all the organizations said we had of gang members. And you can watch the World Bank reports, etc. They said El Salvador has around 70,000 gang members at 500,000 collaborators. So we spared the collaborators basically, and we only got the gang members. Why? Because most of the collaborators were just family members,
yes.
or the woman that sell tortillas, and she had to tell, oh, the police is coming, because if not, she would probably have been killed by the gang. So most of the collaborators were not really criminals,
yes.
but just people living in a society that was controlled by gangs. The government was the real government was the gangs. Just like in Haiti, you have a fake government and you have the real government. The government in Haiti is the gangs. It was like that. You had a formal government, of course, with offices and everything, but you have the real government in the territory, which were the gangs.
So, and I know you want to stick to the facts, but at some point you do have to, this is a really important question. Why would a government that has the means to end violent crime, not all, there's always going to be crime, people breaking laws, but violent crime, people murdering and raping each other,
yes,
is a voluntary decision that a government makes. Why would a government choose to have that?
I don't know. I don't know. I can make up theories, but I really
But
don't.
You have a gut instinct about it?
I think it's a combination of factors, like everything.
Yes.
They might be evil people that that are doing it on purpose, of course, and probably planning stuff. I don't know.
Yes. Possible.
Yeah, possibly. At the same time, there's a lot of people that they just being fed these ideologies, and they think they're doing the right thing.
Yes.
Right, like allowing shoplifting, for example.
Yes.
That's the most stupid thing you can think of, but they do it.
Oh, you don't allow shoplifting here?
No, of course not. So, but you would think, why would anybody think allowing shoplifting would be a good idea?
I don't know.
Why? That's the stupidest thing to think, right? Or giving away drugs. I said this in an interview. Or giving away drugs. Let's give away drugs, right? It's like very stupid things. And you would guess that some of the people enacting these policies are not necessarily evil. They're just, they've been fed this ideology. They think they're doing the right thing. It's like, I'll give you an example. I think a month ago or something like that. Yeah, like a month. The Spanish police arrested a gang member that had fled El Salvador. So the gang member escaped. He flew. He went to Spain, and with an international operation between the police of our police and the Spanish police and Interpol, they were able to arrest the guy. So in those cases, you need to do an extradition because it's an automatic, international operation. So they just get the guy, process him and send him.
Yes.
Send him to the original police for they file the claim. So the Spanish police was very proud of the arrest. So they put it up in Twitter. So they said, we just arrested this gang member. So I quoted the tweet, and I said, great, send him, we'll take care of him, right? So that was used in his court hearing in Spain as a proof that he wouldn't get a fair trial here. So he was protected by Spanish laws, and he stayed there in Spain.
Maybe they don't have enough gang members in Spain.
Exactly. So, I don't care if they want to keep him. It's a mouth that we don't have to feed. It's a mouth that we don't have to feed, right?
Yes.
But so they can keep him. But the thing is that you would think, why would the Spanish government want an extra gang member?
Yeah. Yes.
And it's not necessarily out of evil. It's just that the laws, the system, the things that are being fed to the judge, to the prosecutor. So they think that that my tweet was too mean, and this gang member, his rights would be not respected, or he wouldn't get a fair trial in El Salvador, so he had to stay in Spain to be protected. They know he's a killer. They actually arrested him because of that. It was an international operation. And everything, they know he probably murdered dozens of people, but they feel the need to protect him.
So it's
a very interesting interview. I'm gonna link it down below so y'all can go watch the whole thing. I'm thinking about a lot of different things right now. I do want to share this with y'all, this verse with y'all. This is from 1 Corinthians chapter 1, verse 18. So subtitle is Christ, the wisdom and power of God. So verse 18, it says, "For the word of the cross is folly to those who are perishing, but to us who are being saved, it is the power of God. For it is written, I will destroy the wisdom of the wise, and the discernment of the discerning I will thwart." Verse 20, Where is the one who is wise? Where is the scribe? Where is the debater of this age? Has not God made foolish the wisdom of the world? For since in the wisdom of God, the world did not know God through wisdom, it pleased God through the folly of what we preach to save those who believe. For Jews demand signs and Greeks seek wisdom, but we preach Christ crucified, a stumbling block to Jews and folly to Gentiles. But to those who are called, both Jews and Greeks, Christ the power of God and the wisdom of God. For the foolishness of God is wiser than men, and the weakness of God is stronger than men. I'm going to read that one more time. Verse 25. For the foolishness of God is wiser than men, and the weakness of God is stronger than men. For consider your calling, brothers. Not many of you were wise according to worldly standards. Not many were powerful. Not many were of noble birth. But God chose what is foolish in the world to shame the wise. God chose what is weak in the world to shame the strong. God chose what is low and despised in the world, even things that are not, to bring to nothing things that are, so that no human being might boast in the presence of God. Verse 30, and because of him, you are in Christ Jesus, who became to us wisdom from God, righteousness and sanctification and redemption, so that, as it is written, let the one who boast in the Lord. I just think this is such a cool verse, especially in reference to what we just watched about El Salvador. It says, God chose what is foolish in the world to shame the wise. God chose what is weak in the world to shame the strong. God chose what is low and despised in the world, even though things are not, to bring to nothing things that are, so that no human being might boast in the presence of God. El Salvador was literally one of the most, if not the most, depending on how you want to measure it. I mean, this is all, based on opinion, but they had the highest murder rate in the world. This is one of the most shameful countries, one of the most, quote unquote, weakest countries, undesirable places to live in the world. And now, in a very short amount of time, they were able to completely flip that entire script upside down. And now you have people upset. You have stronger nations like America, for example, upset because of the transformation and because they were able to figure out a problem that was literally taking lives. And we have the stronger nations are upset because the solution isn't to their liking. And that solution is God. That solution is leaning on his wisdom and not our own understanding. That solution is the power of prayer. That solution is understanding that there's very real spiritual warfare that we are partaking in every second of the day. And if you don't want to acknowledge that, then chances are you're not on the side of God, because you're not understanding that the battle is happening and you're not clearly choosing a side. Your ignorance is not going to save you. You can't say, oh, I didn't know about God. I didn't know there was a spiritual battle. I didn't know that there was evilness and wickedness. I didn't know that, the devil had a plan to steal, to kill, and destroy. I didn't know any of that. You're not going to be saved because of your ignorance. You have the opportunity right now to give your life to Jesus. How come you're not doing that? You have the opportunity right now to lean into the presence of God, to seek him genuinely with your heart. How come you're not doing that? God chooses what is perceived to be foolish by the standard of this world, and he uses them to shame the wise. He uses what is weak to shame the strong. So when you think about it and I could only speak from an American standpoint because I'm from America, you see all this evilness, you see all this wickedness, you see everything that's going on. And it just makes you think, at what point are we going to acknowledge the truth that this is a real spiritual battle that's happening? And this is just one example, right? These MS-13 gang members in Houston who were just sentenced. Well, not just. This is from 2021. I think the crime happened in 2019, but they got sentenced in 2021. And then this story started to go viral on social media, a few years after the fact. But you think about the reality that we have real people in America who are praying to demons, who are seeking wisdom from demons, who are making sacrifices to demons. And that's just one example of the evilness and the wickedness and the spiritual warfare that's happening. And that's the most obvious in our face. There's so many other examples that are much more low key, that are much more deceptive, that are much more sneaky, that are happening at the top of the top. I think if we really started having these conversations at the government level, if we really started to have these spiritual conversations, a lot of people would get exposed. And that's why they're not having these conversations, because they're working for the other side. They're not on Team God. They're working for the opposition. And that's why these conversations continue to be suppressed. And that's why when you see something happen like what happened in El Salvador, which was literally a miracle, which was literally a move of God, it's not met with praise, but it's met with condemnation. Because the enemy is not going to praise the work of God. That goes against his very nature. And we have to understand that. And we have to be mindful of that. And even now, more than ever, we have to, once again, recognize and be honest with ourselves that if we're not choosing a side, we can't get to the gates and say, God, how come I can't get in? I was a good person. I never killed anybody. I never stole. I never assaulted anybody. I took care of my family. I was an honest guy. I was an honest woman. How come I can't get in? Well, it's because you never wanted to know me. I gave you the opportunity. I gave you my son, Jesus Christ, so that you could put your faith in him so that you could be saved. But you didn't want to do that. You wanted to keep living life according to your own understanding. And now you have to get the works of your own understanding. Now you have to get the fruits of your own understanding. For the wages of sin is death. So let me know what y'all think. I thought this was a great interview. Get on my comments, like this video. I'm out, y'all.